The Zephyrian hunting lodge fell silent as Captain Sarah Chen stepped through the airlock. Every conversation ceased mid-sentence, every claw paused mid-gesture, and every predatory eye in the room fixed upon the small human female who had just entered their domain. Crixtal, a 7-foot-tall Vorthak with serrated teeth and 4 arms ending in razor-sharp talons, slowly lowered his plasma rifle. His hunting party, which had been boasting about their recent kill of a greater nebula, Serpent suddenly found their accomplishment feeling hollow and insignificant. "Is that?" whispered Gareth, his reptilian tongue flicking nervously over his lips. "A human," confirmed Vexnar, the Draknari pack leader whose species had terrorized 3 star systems before humanity had emerged onto the galactic scene. His voice carried a mixture of awe and something that other species might not recognize in such an apex predator. Respect tinged with primal fear. Captain Chen surveyed the room with those distinctly human eyes, forward-facing, marking her species as natural predators. But there was something else in that gaze that made every creature in the room instinctively understand why humans had earned their reputation. It wasn't the cold calculation of a typical predator. It was worse. It was intelligence mixed with an almost casual indifference to danger that spoke of a species that had climbed to the top of not just their food chain, but everyone else's. The lodge's proprietor, a massive Urgoth whose species had once been the galaxy's most feared hunters, approached cautiously. "Captain Chen," he rumbled, his voice respectful in a way that would have shocked any being who knew the Urgoth's reputation. "We weren't expecting human presence in this sector." "Emergency landing," Chen replied casually, pulling off her flight gloves. "Ship needs repairs. Mind if I grab a drink while my engineer works?" The request was simple, polite even, but it sent ripples of unease through the assembled hunters. Here was a lone human, asking permission to enter their space when everyone in the galaxy knew that humans didn't ask for permission. They simply took what they needed and dealt with the consequences later. Silthera, an Exarian whose species had evolved to be the perfect ambush predators, felt her camouflage instinctively activate. It was an involuntary response to the presence of something her deepest genetic memory identified as a threat beyond comprehension. Her species had never encountered humans during their evolution, yet somehow her DNA screamed warnings. "Of course," the Urgoth proprietor said quickly. "Any drink you desire. On the house." As Chen made her way to the bar, conversations slowly resumed, but they were different now. Hushed. Careful. The Zephyrian who had been loudly describing his hunt of a crystalline bear that could shatter steel with its claws now spoke in measured tones about the weather on his homeworld. "I don't understand it," muttered Crixtel to his hunting party. "She's half my size. No natural weapons, no enhanced reflexes, so why do I feel like prey?" His companion, a Helix warrior whose exoskeleton could deflect plasma blasts, shifted uncomfortably. "It's not about her physical capabilities," he said quietly. "It's what her species represents." The truth was something that every predator species in the galaxy had learned through hard experience or inherited racial memory. Humans weren't just another predator species. They were something far more terrifying. Persistence hunters who had turned problem-solving into an art form. Other species hunted for food, for territory, for survival. Humans hunted for sport, for challenge, for the simple reason that something existed and they wanted to understand it. They didn't just kill their prey, they studied it, learned from it, and then found 17 different ways to kill it more efficiently. The Draknari pack that had once thought themselves the ultimate hunters had learned this lesson the hard way. They had raided a human colony ship, expecting easy prey. Instead, they had found themselves facing creatures that didn't flee in panic or fight with desperate fury. The humans had analyzed their attack patterns during the battle, adapted their defenses in real time, and then systematically hunted down every Draknari who had participated in the raid. Not for revenge, that would have been understandable. They did it to study Draknari tactics and ensure they'd never be vulnerable to such an attack again. Chen sat at the bar, seemingly oblivious to the effect her presence was having. She ordered a simple whiskey, earth whiskey, which the proprietor happened to stock because human traders had made it a valuable commodity throughout the galaxy. Not through force or threat, but through the simple expedient of making it so good that everyone wanted it. "Captain," ventured a young Zilithian whose species prided itself on being fearless hunters, "is it true that humans still hunt for sport?" Chen looked at him with those predator's eyes, and the Zilithian felt his courage evaporate. "Some do," she said simply, "though we've moved beyond hunting animals mostly, too easy." "Then what do you hunt?" The question came from several sources simultaneously. Chen smiled, and every predator in the room felt their blood chill. It wasn't a cruel smile or a threatening one. It was worse, it was genuinely amused, as if the question itself was charmingly naive. "Problems," she said, taking a sip of her whiskey. "We hunt problems. Your species afraid of something? We'll hunt the fear until we understand it, then engineer a solution. Plague devastating a planet? We'll hunt the disease through its genetic structure until we can kill it. Pirates threatening trade routes? We'll hunt them across the galaxy, until they either surrender or cease to exist." She paused, looking around the room at the assembled hunters. "The thing about humans is we don't just hunt with claws or teeth or technology. We hunt with persistence, intelligence, and cooperation. We'll spend generations tracking a single problem if necessary. We'll sacrifice individual advantage for species advancement. And we never ever give up." The room was absolutely silent now. "Most species hunt because they have to," Chen continued conversationally. "Humans hunt because we want to. And that," she finished her whiskey and stood up, "is why smart predators avoid making themselves our problem." As she walked back toward the airlock, the assembled hunters remained frozen. It wasn't until her ship had launched and disappeared into hyperspace that normal conversation slowly resumed. But everyone in that room understood now why the galaxy's predators had learned to step aside when humans entered the picture. It wasn't fear of human weapons or human numbers. It was the recognition that humans had turned the very concept of being a predator into something far beyond what any other species had imagined possible.